Nagarathar Chamber of Commerce. Sail to prosper.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Nagarathar Chamber of Commerce, I take great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Rajiv Khanna and Mr. Govind Parikh, two accomplished and eminent investors and entrepreneurs by themselves, to have accepted our invitation in a short notice and to be with us on this session. And I also welcome our founding president and the moderator of this session, Mr. EMC Palaniyappan. And I take great pleasure in welcoming you all. And today for this session, owing to the popularity of the two speakers, we have 322 registrants from 11 different countries. And from within India, we have people from 24 cities. So this is a record attendance in our online session till now. So with these few words, I now hand over to Mr. EMC Palaniyappan to take over.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's like Ganeshan just said, it's a fantastic crowd. It's a great crowd. I'd not take too much time. I'd like to go straight away into introducing to you the speakers of the day. I'll start with Mr. Govind Parikh. Mr. Govind Parikh is a chemical engineer by qualification, and he started his investing journey in the early 1980s. He started as a stockbroker. He became a successful investor by investing in several blue chip companies very early. His mantra is to invest in top quality businesses backed by credible management at low market cap and hold them for long periods of time. A strategy that has delivered excellent returns for him. He believes in conservative, no leverage investing and also creating bear market buying power. He will talk to us about this bear market buying power by selling stocks when they reach absurd levels and keeping the cash to buy in times of severe market turmoil. He believes in something called sleeping point investing, which again he will explain to us in more detail. He was featured in the Wizards of Dallas Street program, and he was one of the top investors featured in the book Masterclass with Super Investors. Govind is interested in golf, reading, music, traveling, and meeting people. Two things you will find common between the people we are our guests today. You'll find both of them are value investors, long-term investors, and very careful investors who have succeeded very, very well in their journeys. There's a lot of times people ask us the question, should we trade or should we invest? Now, here we have before us two people who have done great in investing. So why we even should think about trading is something I think they will explain better, that we should probably look more seriously at investing. I now call upon our first guest, Mr. Govind Parikh, to address this.
Thank you, Palni. Thank you, Mr. Ganeshan. And a big hello to the entire Nagarathar community and the Chamber of Commerce, members of the Chamber of Commerce. I've been investing actually in the market from 1979 in a small way. And early 80s, I once gave a talk in Karaikudi. A friend of mine, Lakshmi Narayan, he told me to address some Chamber of Commerce that I don't remember now. And I was fascinated with the kind of interest you Chetiyas have in the stock market. I mean, I also happened to meet in one of the weddings, one gentleman, one of my clients, Mr. S.P. Vairavan's elder brother, who's I think 100 years plus. And up to that age also, he's talking about stocks. So it's been very, very interesting. I'm very happy to be here amidst you to give, few of my thoughts in this kind of very tricky situation. As of now, situation is very, very gloomy. And actually, it's not just a financial problem. It's not a financial problem. It's a medical problem. So we don't know when it's going to end. But hoping that, looking at the report from China and Italy and others, we hope it may take about 2-3 months for this episode to end. But the repercussions of this, I think, for everything to be streamlined, it may take maybe September or even December. Because this lockdown, almost all factories have been closed, barring a few essential services. To restart it, it's very, very, very difficult actually. It's not like just, okay, let's say from 1st of May or 2nd of May, everything is, all lockdown is open and you press one button and everything goes, in the most orderly way. It's not going to be like that. It'll take a lot of time, for all the migrant laborers and all to come back. And then also for the, supply chain disruptions which have taken place over this period to come back. So my guess is that in the next, maybe up to September, the markets are going to be very, very volatile. Markets have already substantially come down. So I don't know whether from this level, how much more they can come down. If you see the valuations, a couple of them are 2008 or before 2008 valuations. And also you have, a lot of companies which are blue chip companies, and they are available at very throwaway valuations. So I would say that we are very close to the bottom, especially the bottom which we reached about a week back, 7,500 Nifty, around that. But I don't know, whether we can go down further even more than that. Temporarily, I hope and pray that things are okay and, people are safe and, not many casualties take place and things streamline. But you never know, this is a medical problem. So it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly the correct time when things will start moving. What we have always been doing is, we normally buy during not exactly at the bottom. It's very difficult for anybody to buy at the bottom. Exact bottom buying and exact top selling, only God or a liar can do it. It's very difficult for anybody to, exactly pinpoint the bottom. So when the valuations have reached to a particular level, you start buying, and you also should be prepared that as the market goes down, you will buy some more. So which means that you should not deploy all your funds immediately, thinking that it's very low, it can't go down. So, you're slowly you can invest. But one thing is very important, that your investment, you should invest in companies not with a 6 months view. Maybe with a 2-year view you can invest. Because we don't know how things are going to span out. Eventually, the best of the best companies, very well managed companies, they will all do eventually well, because they are also getting prepared for this kind of thing. Sorry. So I feel that, the markets are at the bottom. Of course, last 2 days, markets have gone up quite substantially because the foreign investors who were continuously selling, they've turned out to be a little bit of buyers. But considering the amount of liquidity available in the whole world, I'm optimistic that, things will stabilize as far as the stock market is concerned. Not now, in some time from now. But again, only the best of the best companies will survive. So the best companies are mainly the companies which are, having no debt or very low debt. Because in this kind of conditions, companies with debt, they have a double problem. You have to pay your salaries also to the employees, and you lose a lot of them. So a lot of SMEs will have a lot of problems. And my optimism is also because I feel government is going to definitely give out government has to give out some very big stimulus, maybe tomorrow, maybe day after tomorrow. I think government should really give out, even if fiscal deficit goes up a little bit. Because if you don't do that and allow the index to go down to 6,000 or 5,000 and all that, the whole economy will crash. Nobody will give us any money. Our Indian paper will become a junk paper. So my feeling is that we are at the bottom. Buy very slowly. And also don't buy companies which are having a lot of debt. Don't buy companies which are, you should buy companies which are more India-centric today. Because, at least you don't have the external shocks. And yeah, that's it, Palni. You can ask me any question.
Yeah, sure. Govind wanted to have this session more interactive and with more question answers. And so we'll do it that way. We already have received quite a few questions, some of which I will post to Govind now. Okay, the most commonly asked question: what are the sectors that are most likely to be performing better or lag behind post-COVID incidents?
Okay, there are two things. One is, the way we invest. We look at the companies mainly, not at the sectors. Because if you are staying with the best companies, even in the bad times also, they may not go down much, but in good times, they will go up substantially.
So you would say companies are more important than the sector?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we invest. But sector-wise, if you see, there are a lot of sectors which will not do well. One is tourism may not do well, air travel may not do well. Some of the financials may not do well. A lot of financials are there. I will put financials, some of them won't do well and some of them will do extremely well also. If you look at the companies which are like HDFC Bank or HDFC Limited, or let's say at a fall, Bajaj Finance. So these are all blue chip companies. Kotak Bank, ICICI Bank. These are all in our list of very good companies, which may not come down well and which may do well because, see, today what happens is people have lost a lot of faith. Earlier, people were putting deposits and they were, trying to go where you are getting 0.25% or 0.5% higher. But now the risk has come so much with the people who are investing that they don't care for 0.25% or 0.5%, but they want to be in Kotak Bank or HDFC Bank. So that's one thing. And these companies have also come down. Kotak has not come down much. HDFC has come down. And ICICI Bank has come down quite a lot. But these are all the good sectors. Even I think pharma sector will do very well. See, because today what happens is, earlier pharma companies had a lot of problems in regulations. One company in Hyderabad, they were saying that even purposely some guys from the FDAs used to come and they used to find faults, like they'll just, find some rat there, say we found this rat here. Even though the rat may not be there, they may write some nonsense to see that those companies don't export. So now I think all this API business and all that, we will get little bit softer this thing from US. Even if you take companies like who are already looking as China as a main source, now a lot of people are upset with China and a lot of them may not get everything from China. So as a second source, we may also be able to export well. And so I think pharma sector is very good. Healthcare will do very well, but I think time being, hospitals and all that, in the next 1 or 2 quarters, they may not do very well. Because there is this, tourism-related healthcare. People used to come here from different places to get operated and all that. Medical tourism. I think that may not, it will not happen now for some time. And second thing is, even a lot of people, even elective surgeries, they are not doing it now. Hospitals and all are working at 5-10% capacity. I'm not sure about all hospitals, but 1 or 2 hospitals I know that I talked to them, smaller hospitals. So they said this is what has happened. One hospital said we are only looking at doing cesareans, and which is, we have to do it. Otherwise, we have only fever clinics. So, but long term, healthcare will do very well in some more time from now. Because people have understood that our healthcare systems are very, very good. They are not that very bad. Earlier, people were healthcare, yeah. So that is about healthcare. And then financial also, I told you.
Yeah.
Other than that, see, government has to do a lot of work on infrastructure now today. So I have a feeling that, even very well managed cement companies will do extremely well. Although they are now not doing well at all. For some 1 or 2 quarters, they may not do well. But eventually, they will do very well. And other materials, I'm not very sure because, they have linkage with the world prices. Like steel and aluminum, they have linkage with the world steel prices. If China is not going to do well, you will get steel and aluminum and all these prices coming down. But what I feel is 2 most important sectors, which are biggest employment generators, real estate and transport. They are both in a very bad shape now. I think government has to do something more about these sectors because they employ a lot of people, and also a couple of companies, they are extremely good. Global standards also, they are very good. So that is one thing I feel government should come out with scrappage policy. They should go a little slow on let us say electric vehicles and all that. Because, and today with BS6 fuels, there will be little pollution will be quite manageable. And second thing is, the cost wise it is so expensive because for IC engine vehicles you charge 28% GST. So it's not comparable, and you also give a subsidy to electric vehicles. So when it's going to be, when they are going to, let us say, electric vehicles, they have to, support the existing IC engine vehicles also, because you can't suddenly kill the asset which has been created over so many years and which is employing so many people. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Govind, I'd like you to touch upon agriculture a little bit.
I think agriculture has to do well. As of now, there is a lot of pain, but because of direct benefit transfer and because of a lot of mechanization and all that, and good monsoon also expected, I think agriculture will do well. But along with agriculture, the related things, like if you take specialty chemicals, water soluble fertilizers, all these will do extremely well because of government policies, and also there are some very good companies in this field. So that is about agriculture. Even tractors and all should do well compared to the other vehicles. And if you look at companies like automobiles, I think government has to really come out with a scrappage policy, which they've been talking about a lot. I think very, very fast they should come out with. And the best way to give a stimulus, in my personal opinion, this is my opinion, absolutely, I don't mind openly telling that, is instead of giving money to the people in their hands, I think you give them employment. So what you can do is maybe you can government can give an order of let us say buying so many thousand trucks from 2-3 manufacturers over some period of time and start scrapping their old vehicles, which are all used in mines and this and that. So that gives a lot of employment, and also it boosts up the economy because it has got a very big chain effect. apart from the, what shall I say, vehicles, the auto components, and so many people are employed, and dealers and all that, auto financiers. So I feel that government should do these two industries.
Govind, there's a couple of approaches that you often use, those words particularly, that it's like the bear market buying power. And of course, a lot of people have the question, when to sell? When do you sell your stocks? So these two things I'd like you to explain. One is when to sell, and the other is why bear market buying power.
See, basically, we also used to be fully invested about 12 years, 13 years back. And then we decided that, in 2008, my investment of 100 rupees became 20 rupees in the 2008 global financial crisis. Because I had a lot of illiquid stocks, which are bluest of the blue chips, but they were very illiquid. So they came down even much more than the market. Market came down by 30-40%. My stocks came down by 80%. From then we decided that we should have some kind of a cash at that time to buy these stocks. So my son and I, we decided that we will always keep about 10% of our portfolio in cash. Anytime, let it just earn liquid funds interest. And in tough times like this, we can deploy this money, that amount, and we can get shares which are absolutely throwaway prices. So that is why selling stocks because people get generally possessive. Most of the people, they don't want to sell at all. When they buy a share, they have a particular idea about the value of that company. Let us say I buy a share at 100 rupees. I feel it's got potential to go to 200 in 2-3 years from now. It goes to 200, 225 in 6 months, and it goes to 500. I start raising the internal target for me to 1,000 rupees because it's my share. I'm possessing it. So once you possess it, you become very possessive about it. And then you don't want to sell. That prevents you to sell. And also a lot of people have that habit. If I sell this, what I'll do with the cash? I don't have any other good share in mind. So let it be here in this. So that is where we decided that by selling shares at a very high price, absurd valuations, and keeping that money in cash, you create a very powerful asset called bear market buying power. See, bear market buying power is a very powerful asset actually. You imagine if you had sold index when it was 12,000, 13,000, whatever it is. If you had sold the shares, some shares, and kept cash, today you will be, happily buying those shares, and you will not get so much of pain if you're compared to you are fully invested. So this is what we follow that. We try to follow that. I mean, to be very honest with you, it's very easy to preach. I also get into that. But most of the times we try to follow that. And one of the examples, we had a lot of HDFC shares, HDFC warrants we bought, and the shares we got from the warrant. So at 2,000, 2,100, though it was the best buy, we offloaded a small portion of our holding, about 25% of our holding. It then went to 2,500. I feel this stock is a great company. In times to come, it will go up. But since we had bought more shares, we sold some shares and kept that cash. So today it helps us to buy that stock. It came down to 1505 and now it is 16, 1700. So slowly we can buy. So if you have invested in very, very quality companies, top companies, you will be able to sleep with your investment. Today, a lot of times, those who have invested like that, they don't even look at the daily prices. What has happened to my portfolio like that? Although 100% of the money will be in stocks or cash, but still don't want to look at the share price also, because we know we have invested for a long time. So this is called sleeping point investment. So generally you buy the share, you can really sleep well with those kind of companies. There are lots of companies. It's not, again, I want to warn you guys, it's not, sleeping point is not like a share bought is like a house bought. If you have bought a house in Poyas Garden or a boat club and some land in these places, you can sleep. You don't have to look at it. Share, even if you have bought a bluest or the blue chip, you have to keep watching it. Because what happened to Wipro in the peak times, Wipro's profits have gone up 22 times from then now. In the tech boom, Wipro went to 10,000 bucks. The profits have gone up 22 times. The share has not yet come to that level. So even the best of the best companies, if you don't keep monitoring or watching them, then you are in trouble. You don't have to see day-to-day prices, but you have to keep watching all the developments in those companies, related companies, and also to the, what shall I say, competitors. Find out what is happening globally. A lot of things are now, we are very much linked to the global markets. Some companies which are very good, but because the FI is losing money in America, he's selling the stock. So there are guys who sold Bajaj holding it up to 1480, and in 3 days time it has become 2100, 3-4 trading sessions. So you have to be very alert in even the blue chip companies, and keep cash, and you should also have a discipline. Generally don't get tempted to buy for short term, because what happens is you will make money eventually. You start making money and then it goes into your head, and you think that you know everything about the market. A stock market and even game of golf, it will humble anybody. You cannot say that you know everything, you're the biggest of the big guys. Everybody takes beating in the market. But only thing is, relatively, how good are you? Are you good 60-70% of the time? I think that is good enough in the market. That is my humble submission.
Thank you, Govind. We'll come back to you after a few minutes.
Yep.
I'll move on to Rajiv for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Rajiv, for waiting patiently. Let me introduce to you one of our prominent and premier investors from South India, Mr. Rajiv Khanna. He did his BTech in Chemical Engineering from IIT Madras. After graduating, he joined ICI Limited and did research in the field of industrial explosives and blasting physics. He was also involved in commissioning a pharmaceutical plant. He started his entrepreneurial journey by founding Quality Ice Creams in Chennai. He built this into a substantial business and sold it to Hindustan Unilever Limited. He now runs a composite milk processing plant, which manufactures a whole range of dairy products. He started investing in the stock markets at the age of 50. He has gained recognition as an astute investor and was featured by Forbes magazine as Wealth Wizard in 2017. Mr. Rajiv Khanna is well known all over India as a very, very smart and intelligent investor, a value investor, and it's a pleasure to have him with us today. Over to you, Rajiv.
Thank you, Mr. Palniappan. There's a saying in cricket that you're as good as your last innings. And my last innings have not been very, very good, but I will let that pass. Anyway, it's certainly a privilege and a pleasure to talk to the Nagarathar Chamber of Commerce. You people have business in your blood and you have taken business all over the world. I think that's an amazing quality. I have had to sometimes in the recent past introduce some fund managers who were either Agarwals or Goyals, and several of them were IIT graduates, IIM graduates, and I would say that, I say all that is irrelevant. The fact is that they're Goyal or an Agarwal, which means that business flows in their blood, and therefore that's their biggest qualification. So I'm a bit overawed addressing a Chettiar community which is in the forefront of business, but so be it. All right, okay. The coronavirus has really been it's been a Six Sigma event. It's a black swan that we had never thought would ever happen. If you'd asked me a year back and said what could have happened, I would have said the word weather could change, a nuclear war could happen, or an asteroid could happen, but a non-living thing like a virus would hit us so bad, I had never thought of it. It's like a neutron bomb, killed industries everywhere, and so on. So I think the impact of this one is going to be huge. This thing, I mean, people are comparing with the Lehman crisis or the bombing of the World Trade Center. I think there is no comparison at all. This is going to leave a far, bigger impact on the economy and on the lives. So therefore, that's something which we've got to recognize, that this is something which is huge. Now, what's been the global response to this? I mean, it varies. I mean, in certain Western countries, the lockdowns have been less severe, and only time will tell whether their response was adequate or our response was adequate. Only I think time will tell. The fact of the matter is we don't know. But it's true that most global economy or larger economies, the stimulus has been on a much, much larger scale. But in India, so far, the stimulus has been relatively far more smaller because we just don't have the funding at all. But in India, it's left a huge both economic and social impact. I think one of the big things is that, it's like waging a war. And when in a war, very often the rich people don't die. It's always the poor people who die. And while we're talking about the lockdown and social distancing, how do I go and explain to a man who's living in a slum or a village what social distancing is all about? I mean, it is just simply not possible. So therefore, the hardship that it has called the poor is really shocking. And therefore, I think we've underestimated the gravity of the situation. While me and you are sitting in our air-conditioned houses and maintaining social distancing, how do I tell a man in Dharvi that you maintain social distancing? And not only have you destroyed his life, you've destroyed his livelihood. I mean, these are not people who do it out of being antisocial. They are basically dying, and that's why they are doing it. So therefore, the response to that extent on a social front has been terrible, and it's going to leave a huge social and economic impact because these people are not going to come back. And therefore, poor people are going to die, and therefore that's as far as the economic impact of the social impact. And the economic impact, of course, is going to be far more serious. I talk to a lot of business people. These are people who have run big businesses, small businesses. Nobody is sounding confident today. They don't know how, they're not saying that we're going to start from ground zero. We're going to start from a pit which is probably already 6 feet or 12 feet deep because most of us are leveraged. We don't know, the demand will not come. The money from various people that we supplied to you will not come. So labor will not be there. And therefore, it's going to be a very, very difficult situation as far as India is concerned. And I think we need to recognize this. There's little that the government can do, to be honest with you, because, let's say I'm supplying to a hotel and a hotel goes belly up, he's not going to pay me. And there's no way the hotel can afford to pay me, or restaurant goes off. Our lifestyles are going to change very, very substantially. And the tourism sector, it has a huge multiplying effect on employment. And therefore, employment is going to die down. And people who have gone back to the villages will have no employment at all. So the social and the economic impact of coronavirus in India is going to be particularly severe. Forget the fact that we may not have as many people dying, but the economic impact and social impact is going to be massive. We also do not know at this point of time that how many people will die, because the numbers are rising on a daily basis. Will it peak on 30th of April, or will it peak in July, or will it peak in August? We don't know. I don't think we have enough data at this point of time. Only in the more developed states, we have some data, which means Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, we have data. It's very hard to imagine that Eastern UP or Bihar do not have any coronavirus cases, because the migrant workers who went from Delhi and so forth, so therefore they would have taken it home. And therefore it's very hard to imagine, unless we have some great immunity in the rural areas, but of which there's no evidence at all. So I think we really see the beginning of the coronavirus and not the end of it all. And therefore, I think we need to be prepared for this. So what will be the long-term impact of coronavirus? I think at the beginning of this decade, in 2020, I think Mr. Kumaramangalam Birla mentioned that the theme of this particular decade is going to be globalization. I think it's going to be much, much worse now. We were slowing down, we were going downhill. And now we're going to fall off the cliff. And what remains to be seen is whether we'll be able to carry any shoots or catch any shoots as we fall down the cliff. It's going to be a very, very tough situation. Unemployment will rise very, very significantly, and social tensions will rise, and maybe there'll be a law and order situation developing. And the other thing that will happen is we will all become poorer. The rich will become poorer. Mr. Mukesh Ambani from his $30 billion will become whatever, $20 billion, but poor will become even more poorer. And therefore they will be at starvation level. The disparities between the two is going to increase. Well, we all become poorer, but the disparities are going to increase. And therefore we are going to move, in my view, a decade or so backwards. There are certain estimates that the number of people who will go below the poverty line, something like 10 to 15 crore people will fall below the poverty line. And when this happens, for us to expect consumption to go up or people to go back to the normal lifestyles, it is going to take quite some time. I'm a bit of a manic depressive. When things are good, I can't see anything wrong. And when things are bad, I can't see anything right. So I will give that particular as a caveat. So therefore, that's something